And we are live on Facebook. And hello, everybody.
Can you hit record?
I am Connie Baxter Marlow.
You are?
I am. I still
Yeah.
am. And this is
I'm-
Andrew Cameron Bailey. Are you still Andrew Cameron Bailey?
I think so. I'll check my ID.
And we are coming to you from the good of the whole connection field, the trust frequency embodied, and we are applying the trust frequency principles to relationships, to the dance of souls. And today we're going to address action, our committed action. And we have Wowza Alyssa Lodge here and Oriana. And we
Thank
are going to
you,
have
ladies,
a
for joining
conversation,
us.
have a fun conversation on the subject of action, because we have to act from that place of trust to get into the frequency. So
do you remember the 7 A's? So there's 7 attributes of consciousness that begin with the letter A, and this one is action. And believe it or not, that is an active. We get active and passive attributes. And this one is perhaps the most active, and it's called action, because once we actually physically make a move, we lock in certain conditions and circumstances. So let's see where this
and
takes
frequencies.
us.
So these 7 aspects of our consciousness that determine our reality, because they determine our frequency, our vibratory rate. So it's physics. And it's just vibration. We're all vibration. We're all energy. And our reality depends on what frequency we're vibrating at. And so what I'm going to do is go over our 7 aspects of consciousness in one sentence, which I'm doing at the beginning of every one of these sessions that deal with these 7 A's. And then we're going to have a meditation by Andrew, a pre-recorded meditation, and then we'll have a chat about
Conversation.
it. A conversation with these lovely ladies and anybody
who
else who
shows
cares
up?
to join
Yeah,
us.
You're all welcome.
So I'm going to share my screen, and I am going to put the 7 aspects of our consciousness on the screen so that we can all see it, for people who like to see things and not just hear them. And so here we have them. With expanded awareness and accurate assumptions, we choose our attitude, consciously direct our attention, align with our highest inner promptings, take committed action, and allow the loving universe to manifest beyond our wildest dreams. Because the universe wants more for us than we can fathom. So if we do all this and walk in total trust, we get into a frequency where there's more than we can fathom, because we are in this lower frequency and think that's the only game in town. We have to play by these rules, when in fact there's new laws and new rules that apply to us when we get in a higher frequency. So what we're going to do now is run this meditation and just take us into that place where
Here we are.
We experience.
So this is one of 7 meditations in the key of trust. Here we go.
Here we go. So enjoy.
Action. Noun. A thing done, an act. The fact or process of doing something, typically to achieve an.
Oh, good.
Our actions, when taken in the context of conscious choice and decision, in alignment with our inner guidance and intuition, constitute the most active aspect of our consciousness. They serve to activate the mechanisms of creation. Our actions are our consciousness made manifest in the material world. Action. Action is, I imagine, the most visible aspect of our consciousness. We make up our minds about something and we decide to do it and we act. And action is that which brings about change. Action is the inner brought into the outer, the implicate manifesting as the explicate, potential manifesting as reality. So action, the actions we take, it's very interesting. You can sit around and meditate as much as you like, and you can think about things and ponder them. And until we act, nothing really happens. There's something very powerful about action. Once we take bold, committed action, we find ourselves moving in a direction that could not have happened had we not taken that action. Interesting. So action is a manifestation of consciousness. It is actually consciousness in motion, consciousness in action. So what actions do we take? Why do we take actions? For what reason do we act? That obviously is a very big and very complex question and depends very much on specific circumstances. So let us close our eyes, go into the silence, and consider an action. It could be an action that we took at some point that perhaps we regretted. Perhaps we did something without thinking it through properly. Perhaps we did something that was not in alignment with our higher intuition. Or alternatively, we could be contemplating an action and wondering whether that action is the right thing to do. I'm asking myself, is that in alignment with my highest purpose? Have I identified my highest purpose? And am I moving in that direction? These are, actions have to do with decisions. Decisions have to do with looking at the pros and cons of any particular situation and deciding to do something. So let's sit quietly and contemplate our actions, whether from the past, whether from the future, whether we're in the midst of it right now. Action. The Buddhists like to talk about right action. And there's something to be said for that, the satisfaction of right action, of knowing we are doing the right thing. And if we can know that we are acting from our highest consciousness, from our highest guidance, from our highest level of alignment with our, may I say, our divine purpose, there's something that comes with that. That is a feeling of worthiness, a feeling of satisfaction. And when you're ready, open your eyes. Come back into the room. And when you are ready to get up and go about your day, know that your actions will be dictated by inspiration from a higher state of being, perhaps, than they were yesterday. And that is a good thing. Thank you.
Go away, Jack.
This is the checkers game where grandson and granddad will bond. This is the pool.
That was a commercial that managed to sneak in so subtly. And Jack Kornfeld was trying to say something, but he needs to go to his own show.
All right,
Here
here
we
we
are.
are.
Hello, friends.
Let's see. Here we are. Hello, everybody.
Today, we're actually coming to you from Aspen, Colorado, at about 8,000 feet up in the Rocky Mountains, in the studio of a beloved friend for whom we are house sitting, getting away from the ranch down in Loveland.
So yes, action, our actions. What I say is the kicker for the whole 7 aspects of our consciousness, because if we don't act from this alignment, from this trust place, we still find ourselves in a lower frequency. Our body isn't there in that place where we're going to run into that person that's going to offer us that job we never even dreamed we wanted, that sort of thing. And so it's really tough stuff to act according to our highest inner promptings. People think we're stark raving mad. I mean, I've spent my life with people thinking I'm stark raving mad as I've
But of course
acted
we are.
according to
Wouldn't
my divine orders. Marlow
wouldn't
reporting for duty.
Right, we wouldn't want to be normal, would we?
We wouldn't want to be normal.
So we took an action on Easter Sunday. We found out about a Native American dance that was happening in Aspen, right in the middle of town. And we really thought about that because it was going to be a crowd. There was going to be a lot of people, and we've been so sequestered for over a year in the COVID situation, in our lockdown. And this was literally the first time in over a year that we've come out and gone into a small town where something was happening. And I got my camera, Connie got her camera. We know the people involved, and we acted and we went and we trusted that it was okay and safe to do that. And the very first person we met who we knew was a former county sheriff of this county, Pitkin County here. And he said, "What are you doing tonight?" We're like, "What do you mean?" And he said, "There's an event that you don't want to miss." And he was right, we didn't want to miss it. So we ended up going to a gallery opening and meeting some of the most extraordinary people, because he told us something and we took action. Firstly, we went into town. I just said, "Oh, we'll go into town, we'll take some pictures." And
yeah,
I can stop.
Yeah, no,
Fine.
it's all good.
It's okay. No
So,
story.
and it's all good because it was amazing. We met people that we would never have met, and they were going for dinner at their house, and they've got so much going on for the things that we've dedicated our lives to. So it's that time of circumstance just taking us places. If we can trust circumstance, if we understand the conscious loving universe loves us more than we do, and it's circumstance taking us places we wouldn't have fathomed. And it could knock us upside the head because we're doing something that's not in alignment with our divine instructions, our destiny path, in order to please people. So we've grown up to pleasing a society that says you got to get good grades, you've got to do this, you've got to do that, when in fact, what we really need to do is trust our hearts and trust circumstance, watch the signs, and act. Any of you ladies have any thoughts on the matter?
Mhm.
Wowza, you're muted.
Thought I took it off.
Now
No.
we hear you.
The light just blinded me. When I got on this afternoon, I mentioned Scrivener, and not too well, a year ago, someone said this is state of the art, and to write my legacy book. And it is a very difficult program, and it really needs a lot of instruction and know-how to really get into it. And I just charged in and wrote the whole book in it. And I went through a lot of trial and error because it was given to me by a friend. It was, suggested that it's a great thing to have and to write in. And it took quite a while to, just slow down enough to be able to listen to my heart and to start getting some decent instruction. And it's also taking action for me is not it's having a discipline too. It's taking sometimes a hard road, to just settle down and learn something. And it from the moment I listened to my heart, everything flowed over and over and over again. So there's just no question that it's the way to go. It's proving itself over and over, which is wonderful.
So the action you took was to decide to actually jump in, boots and all, and go to that program, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
I tried and it was complex and I went, nope, I know where I am. I'm not going to go there sometime in the future. I still have not done that. Yeah.
So again, since you know a little bit, I'd love to talk to you later. There's a couple. I got very good at asking questions
Good.
rather than trying to do it all myself, which was the ego.
There you go.
I don't need help. I can do this. I can learn this.
Mhm.
And asking questions. Oh, would love to see if there was something perhaps you could help me with. The question.
So that flow you're talking about, getting into that flow. We see it, putting yourself in that place, like us putting ourselves at that gallery last night.
Mhm.
And, and that's what's up now, this divine orchestration of contacts, of trust, of meeting people who you have some experience with somehow, some interconnectivity, some respect that sits there because of the life you've lived
Mhm.
and the life they've lived. And every moment, see, I just really believe that there's not a wasted moment in our lives,
Mhm.
especially as we make conscious choices and walk in that trust and just know that it's all for a purpose, for our destiny path and for our unfolding of the role we have to play in the world.
Mhm.
So it takes patience and it takes trust and it takes action. So that's tough stuff. When it comes to quitting the job,
Right.
or where am I going to pay the bills from, whatever, but my feelings tell me, hey, quit the job. Something's going to happen for you.
Mhm.
So, and there's the whole thing of circumstance telling us, hey, you're going to lose that job. You get fired, you get laid off. And that circumstance taking us on a pathway we wouldn't have chosen with our conscious mind. But circumstance knows we said, hey, I'm going to Earth to bring a gift and to go on my journey to wholeness. This is what we're talking about, this dance of souls that we incarnated. We said, okay, loving universe, because the trust frequency principles are that it's a conscious, loving universe. And it loves us unconditionally means it gives us everything we ask for. And we're saying that these 7 A's are our requests to the conscious loving universe. Actually, they not only determine our vibration, but they're our requests to this conscious loving universe. And when we incarnated, we said, okay, universe, you can take me on this journey to wholeness, my journey to self-love and self-acceptance and alignment with my divinity and my gift and my purpose. So here's our minds saying one thing to fit in, and a circumstance saying another. Hey, you wanted to bring a gift. You said you were going to bring a gift to the party, and the whole universe is waiting for that gift that you promised to bring to the party of life, which is us. And that's what this course, this Dance of Souls course, is to help us understand that everything is happening to bring us forth into our divinity, our love of ourselves, so that we can truly come forth into the world with our gift. And wowza, it sounds like you are with this writing program. You're coming forth.
So tomorrow night, it's going to get a final editing by a friend who's a pretty good editor, and it should be on its way.
All right.
I'm still
Congratulations.
playing with the cover, but pretty much my part is done. Phew.
And I'm in the midst of a writing retreat here, and I'm rewriting the Mayflower Revelations book, which I wrote 5 years ago, before all of these circumstances it was set now, but written 5 years in the past. COVID, pandemic, the previous administration, all of the stuff that is Black Lives Matter, all that stuff. I hadn't begun to dream that at that point. So now I'm rewriting it at this point, and what a treat it is doing that, because the book's not bad at all. But just, I've got a whole opportunity. I'm compelled to redo it, and we'll re-release it in time for this Thanksgiving, which is the 400th anniversary of the first meeting, the first Thanksgiving, the celebration
that's right.
between the Mayflower Pilgrims and the Native Americans they connected with, you know? So it's really,
that's exciting. Oh
really
my God.
And we've just been trusting, because it's been out for 5 years, and we've just been trusting and waiting and seeing. And the same with our Trust Frequency book. You know, when the consciousness is ready, when the time is right, you know, just trust.
That's not
and
easy.
Bold, committed action.
Right.
So, you know, you do it, you take that step, and then you see what's going to be birthed from it. I always say every step is born from the step before it. So we have to take that step to give birth to the next step. So,
and Connie kept saying, when are you going to rewrite the book? And I'm like, not yet. I'll know when the time is right, and the time became right. And this beautiful place where we are right now showed up. It's like 2-week window, get this job done. Yes.
And we know that creative activities need deadlines.
Yeah, just the way it works, the way the loving universe just shows up and gives you exactly what you need with a nice extra smidgen of elegance and comfort and love. And it's, wow, it's remarkable.
Now, Andrew, I'd love to ask a question. When you say, well, not yet, where are you accessing that information?
Total trust in my own personal intuition and careful monitoring of outside circumstance. So in other words, I knew that a time would come when the book would have to be rewritten, but certain things had not happened. Who was going to be the next president? You see, that was a real question. Let's say 6 months ago, we didn't really know who the next president was going to be. And because it takes place on Thanksgiving of 2020, right after the election, how could I ignore hugely significant things going on in the country? So now at least I know the facts. I can open Time magazine and go, oh, that's what happened. And then put that as the background of the story.
Oriana, do you have some thoughts?
I bet you'd about it too.
Actually, when you started out, I was reminded of my theater days way back when, my college theater, and the play Fantastics has a wonderful part that she says, a moon turns gold every year on my birthday, and it always will until someone comes and takes me away. Oh, I am special.
Oh,
Special. Please, God, please don't let me be normal.
really, normal, I just would jump off the nearest cliff.
For all of us weirdos that are thinking we're a little too strange for this world, please, God, don't let me be
Thank heaven for
normal.
that.
Wasn't there a book written, I think it was maybe 10 years ago, and the title was Normal is Not Healthy.
Ooh.
What Jean Houston would say is normal are those people you don't know very well.
And you just think they're normal because probably turns out none of us are normal. Is there such a thing?
Well, you don't take action when you're normal. You play it safe, you're within the box. So you're consistent in your character, and everybody knows the way you are today is the same way you're going to be tomorrow and next year. And that, I think, at one time in our culture was the way to be, that you could remain the same, because there wasn't any need to that much need, I think, as there is now. That change is where it's at. And that we're co-creating with the whole evolutionary movement now. And how exciting is that? Yeah, go.
So I was just feeling into what you're been speaking to, and that sense of flow of the universe and the trust frequency. Now, I've been calling it for myself is just the higher frequency is how I refer to it. And so it's taking me just the times that we've been able to spend these last few classrooms here on Mondays to kind of feel into, well, is that what I'm following? Is that the same higher frequency? Is that what you're calling the trust frequency? Is there one current that's flowing in that we're awakening to, that's actually drawing us into that future? And if that's so, is it that we're just tuned into the same thing, or is it that we're tuning into something that we're bringing here? Did that make sense as a question? There are actually two different things. One of, it's just here and we're all just following it. And the other is, what if we're more like the radio station that feels into, okay, out of a myriad of radio programs, which one do I want to listen to? Is there a sense of dialing into your own trust frequency, or is there such a thing as a trust that there is a frequency that's there and it's always there, or is there a fine-tunement that goes to, so both are true and it's a...
Great questions, Connie.
Well, I think it's always been there, and we've had way showers to what it looks like there, like Jesus with his miracles, that we see as miracles. In that frequency, they're givens. That's how life is, in that frequency, the total abundance with the loaves and the fishes. That's another reality. And I know people here in this frequency who can tap into that frequency and have unlimited pot of soup. Let's say Native Americans. I've learned of people who can do that, but you have to really be there in that frequency. And I'm saying there's a party going on and we're all invited. We're just not there because we're not vibrating at that level. Like Imagine, the song Imagine, to me describes that place. See, and I've seen it through Native Americans, through the visionary native people that I've been in my life, like, imagine no possessions. That's huge. In this reality, we can't imagine no possessions. But in the native way, you don't own anything. You don't own land for sure. We don't own the land. That's a foundation of this reality, private property. But you don't own, like this necklace. If someone says, "Oh, I like your necklace," I know that they know it's their turn for my necklace, and I take it off and give it to them because I don't possess it. I'm the caretaker of it. And if it's their turn for it, then so be it. So that's very foundational in the native way, the giveaway. So there's just another reality. So I think it's, Oriana, I think it's there and we're not. And I think it is like tuning into that frequency. That's why what we're giving, this construct on the nature of the universe that we're giving with the trust frequency, allows people to move to that place that's beyond good and evil, right and wrong, duality, okay, which is huge. And I think until we get there, we're still in a lower frequency. So I don't know, this is just what's come to me, and I'm really looking forward to hearing your thoughts on it, and anyone's thoughts, because I made it up, basically.
So I could say something on the subject. I think Connie, I agree with Connie. I intuitively agree that there is it's hard not to call it a place. It's a state of consciousness on the one hand, but it's almost like an entire reality that we could call the trust frequency. It is that place to which we may aspire and then find ourselves in through practice. When we really practice truly trusting, it's like in the old religious days, trusting God, trusting the loving universe. When I was initiated into the Sufi path by an ancient, incredible, eagle-like Persian gentleman, and who didn't speak English, with a translator. And I was just told, everything he just told you meant this: trust God, just trust. And then to practice that, because we're not taught or trained or brought up to do that. We just don't do that automatically. So I think there is a place, that sort of a spiritual state, that we can all get glimpses of and eventually through practice get to. But I also think, you wondered about the dial on the radio, the cosmic radio. Is there a particular one for me and for you and for you and for you? And I think we each come here with a very particular purpose. We each seem to have an individual purpose. Mine is not the same as yours or yours or yours. And sometimes we get together and we find a common purpose and we work together. And sometimes we are apparently on our own. And sometimes there's a whole big group of us working toward a common purpose. But I think it's the individual free will of each of us to attune ourselves to a particular state within which we find, I think the word is guidance. We find a hand reaches out and takes us by the hand and takes us through the dark places or the difficult places or the unknown places. And so I think it's paradoxical. It's both. There's a universal place that we could call the trust frequency or the love frequency or the high vibrational place, or what us hippies back in the day used to call the garden of eternal good vibrations, or however we wanted to express that, right? And yet there's this individual thing, because each of us, our job seems to be to individuate. I need to become Andrew, whatever that means to me and to people who relate to me. And each of us needs to become ourselves. And a part of that is, why am I here? What's my purpose? What's my gift? And if I'm too shy or afraid to bring it forth, I'm not quite delivering on the promise I made before I came here. How about
Yeah.
that?
Yeah, I was reflecting as you were speaking that this Sunday, when I do my program in the morning, it became this stepping beyond into the best I can describe it was like stepping into a portal, only becoming that door and realizing, oh, I'm adored. What does it feel being adored by God? Whoa. And literally stepping into this feeling of coming into what first appears as non-existence. Like, wait a minute, if I keep going, I'm going to like disappear. And then there's nothing here. And yet I'm here. And yet I'm not. What if I'm not yet here? And and the story I'm writing is one that's I call subatomically correct in the way the universe is a love story, as Barbara and Mark Gaffney would say. Well, this Sunday on Easter, I went to what had been started by Barbara and Mark and Dr. Mark Gaffney and Barbara Marks Hubbard as the Church of Evolution. And now it's One Mountain, Many Paths, I think.
Right.
And what was interesting is that they had a tape of Barbara doing the Easter service before she passed. And I really, after I had just come from doing my presentation to being in church listening, and I was asking this question of what is it that I'm supposed to bring through with this? What is it that I'm to do as I step into this non-existence and become that still point that, oh, that holds everything as it just arrives, and in this time-space movement of all time into space and space into, whoa, I'm a temporal being on the other side that has no action in space and has to flow in time. And how does all that work? And somehow trying to sort all of that out, I'm listening in church and I hear Barbara call my name. She literally said, and Oriana, in the middle of her sermon, and she said a few other, names that I think we were all mentoring with her at that time. But it was so interesting. And Mark had done the same thing in his portion of the sermon that day. So I'm getting like called out and feeling this, okay. And then Mark's sermon literally was following every topic that I had already just talked about, in terms of, he was talking about it being this, on the way to enlightenment, that place of, one more step and it's non-existence, and that fear of not existing. You have to first be conscious of existing in order to be afraid of not existing at some level, and really feeling into that, oh, what is it that's calling me forth that makes that one more step far more compelling than that holding back. And when I was in New Zealand, I was bungee jumping, and I had been initiated by a shaman who talked about being fearless. And being fearless didn't mean you were without fear. It meant feel the fear and do it anyway. And I wanted to know, oh, okay, but what would it really feel to be fearless? Like, what would be that sensation of being absolutely fearless? So here I am. Now, I'd already gone over backwards off the bungee jump 150 feet and scared myself so silly I was stuck in it. So I had to do it again, 70 feet. And then they said, do the big bridge. So now I'm up 229 feet on top of this bridge. And I'm walking across, like, cutting through fear with a machete just to get out on the bridge. And I'm literally like struck with so much fear that I'm paralyzed. Like I can't move because my body knows one more step and she's off the edge. And then there came a moment where It was, okay, body, I know you don't want to do this, but for whatever reason, my spirit wants you, so I'm going with it. And I hurled my heart into midair and I followed it. And about midway down, just this nanosecond, it was like time stopped. Everything was still. I was floating midair, looking around at the sheep in the pasture and river below and going, oh, that's right, I'm supposed to fly. And just for that nanosecond, I was completely fearless. Like, whoa, that's what that feels like. Yeah. And then I had to finish the dive.
Talk about action.
Bold, committed
Bold,
action,
committed
girl.
action. There's no way to change your mind halfway down, is there?
Oh,
Right.
Yeah, but that's what it feels like being this lifetime for me. I'm like midair going, what am I doing here? What? I'm stepping out in the middle of nothing and I don't know where I am and I don't know. And oh, wait, maybe I'm supposed to be here in the not yet. Like, what is that is meant to be that isn't yet here? Like, what does a butterfly emerge knowing it's a butterfly even as it's crawling as a caterpillar, right? That's that sense of what's calling us forth beyond what we can imagine. What is
Trust
that?
the process, summoning up the courage to trust no matter what, especially the unknown. I think that's the biggest challenge, is to be first comfortable and secondly just excited or in love with the unknown. Can we do that?
Mm.
Like Nike says, just do it.
Because
The divine instructions.
I have that. I think the biggest fear for me is more what you were describing, Connie, when I think you were saying that, what if I do it wrong? What if I take the wrong step? What if I go the wrong way? What if I get involved in something that isn't on my path? I think it's more of a self-doubt that enters in.
But there is no wrong
Is there
step.
any such thing as wrong?
There's no wrong step. There's no mistakes.
Not in the trust frequency.
Not in the trust frequency.
You make a decision to act, and halfway down you go, oh shit, I shouldn't have done that. And then it kicks back in and like, oops, there are no mistakes.
Yeah. So no, you
Right.
should have done that. If you
Right.
shouldn't have done it, you
You
wouldn't
wouldn't
have.
have, yeah.
Okay. And so there's no mistakes. It's all serves. It's all love. Serves us on our journey. So that's what we have to get. Then we get over guilt, we get over remorse, regret, all those things that are keeping us down, so that we just get it. Hey, it was right. I took me exactly right here.
Right.
And people who experience abuse in their lives, people
can
who've
that
come
be? How can
through
that be
and know
right?
that
Yeah.
that abuse brought them to where they are, and they're thankful. Okay, it's huge. It's hugely. Do you have anything to add, Waza?
yeah, the abuse. I couldn't speak very well. In fact, I was so traumatized, I had great difficulty speaking at all for years. And that's where, with that problem, I opened up a whole pre-verbal language of speaking. And while you were talking, I went, well, what is my gauge into the trust frequency, that we're vibrational beings, that everything is vibrating and everything is humming. And the mother of the world was a very big experience for me that came through me. And there was this piece that I used to do with people, that they were confused which way to go, what to choose. Even I did it with people into stocks, like putting a stock in one hand and another one in another. And when it was decided, when the brain was figuring it out, we would do both. And then the holding of the hands and humming with love, with the trust of this deeper power, just really surrendering and humming back and forth and not yes. over and over and over again. Yes. And that trust of the inner language, I would call it my inner language, far surpasses anything that I've ever thought.
What do you mean by stocks?
Stocks, what kind of stock is going to give me the greatest dividends? I worked once with people that were deliberating which stock to buy. I mean,
like
the club, right? And so they put two different stocks in their hands.
Imagined two different stocks.
Yes. And then hummed over the hands. Well, first thought over the hands from the mind. Oh, this is the smart one. This is the good. This is the one. And then, okay, let that go and do it again. Just play. And then just hum from the heart. Just pour out those feelings back and forth. And inevitably, it was that, that click that just went, this is it. And inevitably it was right.
So that was an exercise in action.
Yes. Yeah, you could say that.
Decisive, saying, okay, is it this one or this one? And then acting once you got the intuition that was the way to go.
Now, that would never have happened. I mean, when I wrote my first book was humming, the hum of love. I mean, I wrote a whole book on the subject. And that would never have happened unless I had that wounding, where I couldn't speak. Why would I? Why on earth would I have gone in that direction? No, I wouldn't have. I know it. And because I couldn't speak, I opened up a whole, when people are blind, they become unbelievably sensitive in all their other senses, right? And it was the same here. So the wounding led me on my true path, because if I would have stayed in that world, in the mindset that I was raised in, I wouldn't be here today. I don't think I would be alive. Yeah.
So that's the point about circumstance. As Connie says, circumstance loves us more than we love ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
We would never have chosen that path.
Yeah.
Yet there was nothing we could do. Circumstance was imposed on us apparently by some outside force. And here we are, and there's nothing we can do except accept it. And once we truly accept it and truly trust that everything that happens is happening not to me, I'm not a victim, but for me, I'm a beneficiary, then I choose the right stocks, and that's why I'm a billionaire. That's how it works.
Yes, and what we have to understand, like for Wowza, that her soul actually did choose it. One doesn't think, in the victim consciousness, one doesn't understand that. So one feels victimized by the circumstances. But once one gets that, within this construct, because we're just saying this is a construct on the nature of the universe. Take it or leave it. We don't care. But once you accept that, okay, my soul chose those circumstances, that father that I couldn't please, those physical circumstances, so that I could bring my gift, which is Wowza's unique gift of who she is now from all those life circumstances, because it's all love. And Oriana, your amazing gifts that you're bringing from, and you had extraordinary circumstances in your life that led you on paths and brought you to this place. And all of us.
And looking at you two ladies on this Zoom call, and you're both so radiantly beautiful, both of you.
And have such extraordinary gifts, unique gifts.
I'm just talking about the radiant beauty that is showing up on the screen. It's like, no matter what you've been through, right here, right now, I mean, Wowza, you are 43 years old, is that? And, it's
I'm going on 95.
not quite, but yeah. The other night we met a guy who's about to turn, he's actually turning 90 in August. And I sat with him for hours, this Englishman, just beautiful man. And just, he's that further down and he's got a walker and he really struggles with his body, and just to commune with someone, an elder.
Yeah, and who he's been in his life, and what connections we're going to dinner with them tomorrow.
Yeah, this man is
and,
something. You've heard of him.
anyway, so this divine unfolding through Zoom. So much has happened through Zoom because of the pandemic.
Right. And the actions we all took by agreeing to show up here together, that's an action. That's actually where we have agency, because we could have said, nah, I'm not going to do that.
Can I ask a quick question on, can you speak more to regret? Like, I often have a sense of regretting, looking at, I didn't do that, I should have.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow, girl.
I screwed up.
That's a big deal.
Yeah.
That's a very big deal. I made a commitment to my life that I was going to make every decision that I made with full consciousness for that time. Okay, so that I didn't get to the end of my life with any regrets. So it's a big thing in my life, that because if we just take it that we made a decision given who we were at that time, and accept that and know that, then, and trust that, then the word regret leaves our vocabulary.
Yeah.
It's a whole different vocabulary, this trust frequency vocabulary.
Right. And, regret has to do with a lack of acceptance of something, right? In other words, I regret that I failed to do such and such, or that I did such and such. And so love and acceptance are very, very close to being synonyms. So if I truly accept myself for who I was, Connie just said, for who I was then, even though in retrospect, I might have learned something from it.
Especially because.
Yeah, right. So those things that we probably wouldn't do again, but don't regret, because we know that there was a lesson there, and the reward, the value was what we learned from that.
Yeah, I do often catch myself in that, I should have done it. Oh, shoot, I missed it. I could have still been an avatar master, and that kind of, it's like my whole path turned. But the thing that I do tell myself anyway is that there's a higher purpose being served.
Yeah.
No matter
Whatever it is.
So if there are no mistakes, then what can we regret? The mistakes we made, but there aren't any. So that's a contradiction. Yeah.
And there's another word that leaves the vocabulary, and that's the word risk. There's no risk when you trust and you know that you're taking that step because of your inner promptings, because of circumstance, and risk is the Achilles heel. Doubt is the Achilles heel of the trust frequency. You can't get there with doubt. So that's the thing that keeps our vibration down, is doubt. So
I bet you could do a whole nother hour on that subject.
well, yeah, we will.
Yeah, right.
We'll have some fun with that.
It brought up a memory for me, that conversation. I had, in the 50-year retrospect, I can recognize this young man as a mentor of mine, as a spiritual teacher of mine. He was an Afrikaner. I grew up as an English-speaking person in South Africa, where the other whites were mostly Dutch descent, and he was a Van Sale, Harold Van Sale. And he was a biker. He had greased back hair, and he had a really nice, it wasn't a Harley, but a big bike. And we did stuff together. We went out to parties and things, and we had some really good times together. And every time we had to make a decision about something, he had a statement to make. And it was this: Napoleon took a chance. Napoleon took a chance. Think about that. So that was the wisdom.
How'd that work out for him? Wait a minute.
Crazy wisdom, but actually I love it because it's like, okay. I don't know why that came up.
Napoleon took a chance.
But when you jump off that bungee bridge, you take that same chance that Napoleon took, and look where it got Napoleon.
Okay, kids, we've got people waiting in the waiting room. Our time is up.
Oh no, that's not
And
fair.
so, yeah.
Dang, we were just getting, weren't we just getting started?
going. So next week it's allow. So we can
Ooh.
go into doubt and risk and all those things with allow.
Oh, allow
So
the
fun
loving
being
you.
with you, ladies.
Oh, thank you so much.
And I'll
Thank
get off
you.
Facebook Live now, and then I'll let in those